Well, greetings. I hope this podcast finds you well. I'm surrounded by some birds chirping at our island cabin and an occasional boat passing by, but otherwise I think you can hear me pretty well. This is a joint Sauna Talk podcast with Linda and Otto, who also run the Spirit of Sauna podcast from Finland, as well as Sipoonjoki Heritage Sauna just outside Helsinki, Finland. Linda and Otto are business partners who share a common interest in preserving the cultural roots and history of smoke sauna, promoting the rituals of power behind the experience, and help create a place and platform for education and retreats at their sauna facility in nature just outside Helsinki, Finland. Sipoonjoki's Heritage Sauna offers a unique experience in a country sauna where bathing leaves you feeling especially cleansed and refreshed. I'd call Sipoonjoki's a smoke sauna haven. For guests traveling to Finland or within Finland, the top features include their flagship smoke sauna, built traditionally within the hill mound and stone walls, and also saunotus ceremonies and treatments using plants and herbs growing on site and in the shadows nearby, and also education and retreats. The day of my visit, as I was departing after my session, a half dozen Finnish ladies were arriving for their private smoke sauna experience. That's the beauty of smoke sauna, and maybe I should just take a moment to describe smoke sauna for you listeners who may not be as familiar. Smoke sauna goes back centuries, you could say. It's the original heat bathing experience, and smoke sauna extends in parallel to other cultures as well through the Native American sweat lodge and simple designs where you basically have hot rocks that are heated through flames going right through the rocks, red hot rocks basically, that in the American Native sweat lodge experience that they're brought in with deer antlers into the tented room, and so the heat is brought forth that way and water thrown on the rocks, so you have that experience. But up in places like in Ireland, where smoke sauna goes back millennia, you could say, and certainly in Finland, Estonia, other places, the original smoke sauna design was similar. It was pre-Iron Age, so you didn't have a stove per se. You basically had a fire chamber with rocks piled around the fire chamber, and the fire would run for hours. In the case up at at my visit with Sipoonjoki, they will fire have the flame going for about 4 hours, heating these rocks red hot. They get red hot. Then the flame gets extinguished, and what you're left with is the latent heat from hot rocks. No fire. It's a single burn style, the smoke sauna design. So yeah, and all the smoke is in the room. So prior to the bathers entering, all the smoke is vacated through air chamber window that's open. The door is open, and smoke goes out, and bathers come in. And what's nice about this smoke sauna experience is that there's plenty of heat for multiple sessions. So historically, say in a village where you had one smoke sauna that would be fired up maybe on Saturday, you could have many cycles, many different people using the heat from these massive heat from these rocks. So anyway, impromptu explanation of a smoke sauna, and I think you got the picture. But the Finns dig it. I mean, in many old heritage style saunas, the smoke sauna is the revered method for sweat bathing. A lot of history behind it, a lot of culture behind it, and a lot of great heat behind it too. I mean, you can imagine the intense heat. And man, was the heat intense for my session here at Sipoonjoki. So Otto offers to come pick me up for this event in downtown Helsinki, where I'm staying. But learning about he and Linda's busy schedule as owners, operators, parents, each having their own children, I'll have none of that. I love taking public transport in Europe, and Finland is no exception. I take the metro to the trains to main central train station. And with the train stop on my phone, it doesn't take me long to find a younger, sharper, more localized a person to guide me, a Helsinkiite at the station, who directs me to platform 7. And from there, I board the commuter train. And from there, I confirm that once the train pushes off, I'm the 3rd stop north of town. And I disembark, and there's Otto waiting for me with a big smile, standing in front of the photo-wrapped passenger van for his business. And with a hug and a hello, there we are. We're off to Sipoonjoki with a short car ride. And the drive is just long enough for us to help orient so where we are, and we find the common English word. The tool we're thinking of is called a compass, or a drafting compass, and you remember that from elementary school. It has one pointed leg and one leg that holds a pencil, allowing you to draw precise circles or arcs from a central point. You know, it's commonly used in geometry and drafting, woodworking, metalworking. Well, this is part of the magic of Linda and Otto's Sauna Retreat Center. The compass point being Helsinki Central, and within the drawn circle is Sipoonjoki Regional Park. And that's where we're headed for smoke sauna, as nature is such a critically wonderful component to good sauna. And here we are, as if transformed hundreds of kilometers away, yet just close to Helsinki, where Sipoonjoki is located, right next to the hiking and the natural park. So I ask for visitors, you know, a car is the best option, but if a tourist were visiting without, what is the best way to get close to you? As the train that I took, or is it the bus? And so Otto reveals that there's a bus stop relatively close, and during summer weekends, there is a bus that comes directly to the sauna. Gotta love Finland. My latest Europe trip was 40 saunas in 12 days, and it carried with it a general theme, beyond the obvious. For example, all sauna tourists will hit Lolu in Helsinki, yet few venture on the path less taken to Sipoonjoki. And stepping out of the van with Otto and meeting Linda on this end of May early afternoon, I met with the sound of birds and soft breeze blowing through the tall spruce trees, take sight of the grounds and smoke sauna awaiting me, and I'm filled with joy and calm for what exists beyond the obvious. We settle into one of their outbuildings. I get mic'd up, and off we go, the three of us, a joint podcast. The spirit of sauna meets Sauna Time, Sauna Talk. So welcome to this episode with Linda and Otto, where we get right into the spirit, together with you alongside. This show is brought to you by the Sauna Times Public Sauna Map. The Public Sauna Map is free for you to use and click around, and hopefully give us a suggestion as you click around. If you know of a really great public sauna that is not on the map, drop us a line right there on the website. You can share your favorite public sauna, and we'll get it added in. Really awesome for me to travel around and use the map to know where to go when I'm ready for some good sauna action. So to get to the public sauna map, just go to saunatimes.com, and right up at the top, sauna map. See you at one of these, hopefully down the road. Welcome to Sauna Talk, and this is a joint podcast north of Helsinki on a beautiful late spring day.
Yeah, I would even say early summer, because it's I can hear how the birch leaves make this kind of, in Finnish we say havina, because it's very onomatopoetic, you know, this kind of idea that you hear and you say this word. And for me, this is the start of summer, because then you know that the leaves are already in full bloom. And for Finns, that is the sign that summer is here. There might be a small winter in between, maybe snow coming.
Yeah, just about 8 months worth.
Yeah.
Are the birch leaves ready for Vita at this point, or is it still too soon?
Well, you have the they are ready for the soft first, ritualistic bathing, but to really get them strong, you have to wait a little bit. So yes, but definitely I agree with Otto. Now we have the season of this first Vihta bathing, and that marks the beginning of summer. So we are now in summer season officially. But definitely the birch still has to develop a little bit for the leaves to be strong.
Well, Laura, Otto, thank you for hosting me, bringing me here to this wonderful space. I feel your spirit here. It's wonderful.
But hey, tell us first, like now you're in Finland. You came all the way from Minnesota. So how's your journey been, and where you been to?
The journey's been crazy, but I knew it. I did a lot of deep breathing before I got on the plane in Minneapolis because I knew I was in for a whirlwind of a tour. I started in London, and we had the second annual British Sauna Society Summit, and last year there was about 100. And this year, the numbers, I think, were 300 to 350 attendees.
Yeah, it was sold out, no?
Yeah, it sold out right away.
Right.
And so that was great to see the growth of that. And then I flew to Norway and spent 4 days there. I could tell you about that if you're interested. And I just flew in last night to your wonderful country, back here to Finland.
Wonderful. But it's not your first time. You've been here.
This is my fourth trip.
Yeah.
First trip was when I was a college kid.
Oh, really?
Hitchhiking around. And
when was this?
This was 1985.
A different world,
Totally, man. But you know what? The sauna's the same, and that's the thing. I always say good heat knows no borders. And this trip is a good example of that. My wife's like, how do you do this? How can you run at this pace? And there's something really energy giving for me when I step, I'm like, oh, maybe today I'll take a day off, or maybe I won't sauna and I'll just chill out in a park. But no, that's when you get more tired. When you step into the sauna, no matter what country, for me anyway, I feel very comfortable and at home, and it's a regeneration of energy for me.
That's really fascinating because, we talked before we started to record about this global sweat cultures. And I told that I'm also this kind of sauna connoisseur, but I also want to go to, hammam. I went in Greece. I went to this very traditional hammam, and it was beautiful. I really felt at home. Same thing, and also like when I go to sauna, like in pretty much any country, and even these spa saunas, there's something familiar. Although I don't feel so good, it's kind of like I just come here to visit, but still, the panels on the walls and the steps and all of that. For me, it is a ritual place, no matter how diluted.
As lovers of this, we run into a little bit of a conflict sometimes because I'm a nut for good heat. I love good heat, and I don't try to come across as a snob about that. That said, if you're traveling and you end up in a hotel and it's a really bad sauna experience, place that you go, it's hard to make a great experience. You can try some tricks, and I have some great tricks. Like as a matter of fact. In my corporate days, I would go to this certain hotel that had an okay sauna. It was tolerable and stuff. So I'd check in, and they give me the key to the room. And instead of going to the room, I'd go directly to the sauna. And they would have one of those little buckets with a little wooden handle or whatever. I forget that completely. And I'd go into the locker room where you had an actual garbage container with a shit ton of water. Right? I'd take the bag out, rinse out the water, and I'd fill it up with like 2 gallons, whatever that is. And I'd go in the hot room and I'd douse everything. Douse everything, and then the walls, the benches, the kiwas, everything, and then crank it up full blast. Go to my room and then spend about an hour getting my work done at the hotel room. Anyway, I prepped the sauna.
But I understand. This is the same thing I did also with a really bad electric sauna a few weeks ago in the Arctic Circle, which was the tragedy that they had such a bad sauna. But it was a small one, and I just heated a little bit, not to the end. And then I would pour massive amounts of water so that I could get just maybe 40-50 degrees, so that I could lie there for, say, 45 minutes or 1 hour. And it was all right, It was a sweat bathe, but it wasn't a sauna for me.
Well, in America, we're all big on protocols, right? Like, you must, like if the health benefits, you 20 minutes at 180 degrees,
right.
but I have one. So as a goof, my friend Tom, his last name is Rolando, and we talk about the Rolando protocol. And we're kind of making fun of it, really.
Yeah.
But what my friend Tom likes to do is he likes to ride it up. He'll ride up the first round so that humidity goes down as the temperature goes up, and his first round is like a half an hour or maybe longer, 40 minutes or so. And I find myself doing that on occasion, riding up round one.
Yeah. There is also a side of wisdom to that protocol side, but we're really critical about it most of the times in this podcast.
I like that.
Yeah, and I think in general, really, in Finland, it's very new concept to have sort of like external rules or minutes or even degrees is relatively, because when you go to the smoke sauna culture, you don't have degrees, you don't measure. It's all about, you know, being there, being alive, and you know, engaging with your bodily wisdom and your own feeling of it. So being your own sauna master is in the essence of it.
Could not agree more. Yeah. This idea of someone telling you how long you must be there is missing really this valuable thing. This is where we come in contact with our bodies. Every body is different, number one, and our bodies are different. Like today, you asked me how I'm feeling. I am well prepped for sauna because I ate well. I've hydrated myself. I'm not fatigued. I'm well prepped for sauna today, and I wanted to be for you. It's a wonderful experience.
And you should be for the smoke sauna, because smoke sauna tends to bring, you know, the real you. So, for example, with me, when I go to the smoke sauna, like you said, I don't feel like going to a sauna. Yeah, happens to me in the evening time when I get the kids to sleep, and then I'm like, oh, I'm so tired. Will I go? And then I'll go. And it's always worth it. But it shows me my true colors. Like, if I think about like smoke sauna as a really blissful place, it is. But for the past year, I think it's been over 300 sessions in that. So there's 300 different kinds of moods in that. So sometimes a little bit more tired, sometimes a little bit, dehydrated or not eaten so well. And you can really see it very plainly when you're there. So,
no doubt.
And also because you're naked. So you're really like immersing yourself as you are, not just through your roles, but as you really, truly are.
Sauna is a really place of pure honesty, and you are there, just you. And sauna is that way a very like a loving grandmother, but who gives you the feedback if you try to be something that you're not.
Oh, I love that.
And it is funny, this culture of having the minutes or somebody external, because really, you have to adjust always exactly to the moment. What you are exactly on that moment, and it's this idea that there would be something that is good for everybody at all times is really not in the sauna essence of sauna.
And I do like this line of sauna meets you where you're at.
And
if you're stressed and whatever, and your rounds are shorter, that's fine too. Exactly. It meets you where you are.
Exactly. And it's a really good practice of self-love and honesty.
And letting go.
Definitely,
But I would want to go back to that year 85. There's even a famous Finnish pop song. It's the year 85, and it's been a long time.
Oh, cool. Good. It was a formidable year for me. I'll have to listen.
Right. So like how you're from Minnesota, and as I understood, there's a lot of people with Finnish backgrounds in Minnesota, and I guess sauna is a big thing there as well. So how on earth did you get introduced to this culture?
I'm originally from upstate New York, and when you say you're from Minnesota, that's great. I'm almost a native. But the story goes like this. I grew up in upstate New York and studied in London, and then stayed on. I just absolutely like the European culture, all the different countries, and the Nordic countries have always appealed to me. I love nature, and I always have as a child, and the swimming, the hiking. And so the summer of 85 was a formidable year for me all the way around. An American friend and I met at Copenhagen train station on June 1st. This was no internet, of course. He went up to Ireland and worked on a sheep farm. I stayed in London, and I was doing odd work. I worked at the Hard Rock Cafe actually, and it was June 1st, and well, actually it was in winter, and he went up to Ireland, and I said, look, let's go up to the Nordic region in summer, and we're going to meet at June 1st, Copenhagen train station, under the I sign for information at 12 noon. And I hadn't heard from him in 4 or 5 months, and you know, I'm working, and now it's May, it's getting toward, you know, close to June, and I'm like, is John going to show up? And I'm like, well, I have to be there. I made that commitment, and there I was, and there he was. And so we hitchhiked up through Denmark into Sweden, and found ourselves on an island between Sweden and Finland in the Baltic archipelago. And that's where I caught the sauna bug. We were rebuilding a guy's cabin, and every night around 8, 9 o'clock, we'd hop in Tome's boat and go to his other uncle's island, and we would pull in perch and flounder from the sea, boil potatoes. These guys were into shots of vodka. I suppose I had a few myself. And every night we would sauna, and I said, this will always be a part of my life.
Wonderful, And but that's really like also one thing we talked about before starting to record is how, you know, when we're talking about bathing cultures, and especially this, like, what we could say, sauna cultures around the world, they have different names and so on. But it is a truly global phenomenon. It just has different kinds of clothes around it. And I just have these uncanny similarities that I see between yoga culture and the sauna culture. So also yoga is a global phenomenon nowadays, but it used to be like very traditional Indian subcontinent, like their iconography and, you know, their practices and all of that. And nowadays it's not so common to actually go to India to study yoga. You go to Bali, you go to Thailand, or you study in just your local gym. You know, there's a guy who teaches yoga, or teaches yoga teachers even. And in the same way, you know, it's very rare, I guess, for nowadays, for a foreigner to actually travel to Finland to figure out sauna. You know, and so you're kind of like, I think you're kind of a rare guy in that sense, that you came all the way in the 80s when nobody was talking about sauna anywhere.
Well, everybody thinks I'm a rare guy, so. For many things. Well, music, for example. I mean, you know, there's a great line, when the room gets crowded, I'm out of there, you know, and we're seeing this now with sauna, and I use the metaphor that, you know, it early on. And so I moved to Minnesota because of nature, really, and topography. And, you know, that people say, why is sauna big in your state of Minnesota? And I said, there's 3 pillars to it. You had this ethnic migration in the late 1800s. So there's a lot of Finns that brought sauna with them. And we have, much like Finland, 4 distinct seasons, and it's cold and it's dark in winter. And so it really lends itself to this thing, sauna. And, you know, and it's just, the topography is very Finland as well. I mean, we have tons of lakes. So you could be in a lake in northern Minnesota and see saunas dotting the shoreline and feel very at home there. And so, so when I moved back to America in 1988, I made a conscious decision to move to a place where I felt very at home. And I was alone. I mean, you know, in this evangelical sense of sharing this love. And I started Sauna Times in 2008. And that was it, you know, like it was a bike ride on a country road, and you see another rider and you have this kinship, and you wave and you smile. And today I feel like I'm on that same bicycle, but it's a very busy highway.
Very crowded.
But that's interesting also in that sense that, you know, as we talked about our stories in this podcast, and I've been a very big public sauna guy since there's been public saunas. Because the thing is, I'm from the north, and in Oulu, there's just one public sauna nowadays. Now somebody's building €2 million sauna or something like that. But other than that, there's no public saunas. So all of my experiences were basically my own saunas, where I bring my friends, or I have a sauna session by myself. And this has been the case since I was maybe, I don't know, 3 years old, 4. So it's been there. But then when I moved to Helsinki in 2006, I noticed, wow, there's like a public sauna that you can actually go with other people into the sauna. And, you know, having like in the city block, you would have a sauna which could heat up, you know, for 10, 12 hours. And then it would have tens of people or even 100 people during the night having the sauna session. And Finland also had this sort of downtime of sauna, which was, I guess, in the just on both sides of the millennium, people weren't so interested in sauna, especially public saunas. So in whole Helsinki, I think there was 3 public saunas. Now it's like 20 something, but then there was 3, and one of them was just the next block.
Yeah.
So for me, it was also a journey of discovery. It was like, yeah, you can have a sauna like this, this very different kind of culture. And also that it was kind of a Banja type sauna, Arla. It was a 100-year-old sauna, which had this massive, like, one wall full of stone.
A lot of mass.
A lot of mass.
And a lot of people coming and going and very reasonably priced.
Yes, it was, I guess at that time, some 8 euros,
Yeah.
something like that.
Was that, they transitioned that to gas, or did it go the other way
It
around?
was gas, I think, from the, maybe even from the onset, but at least, I think, tens of years.
Yeah.
But now it closed down 2-3 years ago.
I know.
Yeah,
So
because
sad.
the gas price went
Too much.
fivefold.
Yeah, the economics doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
But you're right. And when you think about Helsinki specifically in the 50s, over 100, I mean, couple hundred, and they were all wood fired.
Yeah, right.
There was no real plumbing, right? So that was the method of bathing. And it fostered this spontaneous connection that you're speaking about. And I think this is a big boom. Like they talk about the Badstu boom in Norway, where I just came from. Again, the in Britain, there's 200 and some odd public saunas dotting, most of them dotting the shoreline around.
Already. Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. It's just So I think there's this. We can talk about that, but I think it's been talked about a lot. This idea of yearning for connection, and the pubs in London people aren't drinking as much, looking for healthy alternatives. So there's a real thirst for connectivity, and man, that's the jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also at the same time when the public saunas in Finland disappeared, this art of sauna healing and these treatment practices and sort of the ceremony practices that we have had so much for the yearly cycle or the lifespan of a person, that has been very in the essence of the Finnish sauna culture. At the same time when we sort of lost the village saunas and lost even in the Helsinki area, because in the beginning of the 1900s, before the wars and all that, we had, I think, hundreds of sauna bathers and sauna healers operating, doing wet cupping, doing different types of treatments, but all that disappeared because people had their own electric saunas, and that culture also was sort of forgotten then.
And Laura, thanks. That's a great transition to flip the narrative to you guys a little bit. Heritage sauna is where we're sitting.
Yeah.
And to say that in Finnish, it's called
Perinnesauna.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right here.
That's where we are.
And you guys are pioneers in the sense of bringing back some of this heritage, like your name is, and the essence. For listeners to Sauna Talk, there are many avenues toward explaining what you do here. If I could put you guys on the spot and have you talk to the top 2 or 3 components of where we're sitting and what you're offering, is that fair? Could I challenge you to give us 1, 2, 3?
Of course.
All right. You want to lead with any one of the essences of what you're about?
Yeah.
Well, there's many ways to start. I guess maybe we start with the obvious, and then Laura can fill with the non-obvious.
Okay, the obvious is...
The obvious, people think this is obvious, and actually this is not obvious either. But, when Finnish people hear the word heritage, they think old. So most people ask how old this is, how long you've been here, and I say some 4 years. And they're like, really? Okay, I thought it's 4 years. That's not too much. And then they said, how is this built? Like, did you use the linen and the to insulate, and did you use it? And I also have to add that just disappoint these people and say no, not at all. And actually, the smoke sauna of ours is made of concrete blocks, like cinder blocks. So the thing is, for Finnish people, we're not traditional in the sense that we're old, that we want to LARP like how it was in the 20s or something like that. it's not technology. We love technology. What we use right now, we use technology for our advantage here at the sauna. But the heritage actually has to do with the sauna heritage, which we have lost. So it's really, I think it's a kind of telling that Finnish people always think that heritage means old buildings, old technology. Maybe it's because we're very like engineer-minded people or something like that. But for us, all of this is symbolic. So there's always a symbol behind every word we use. So if we say heritage, we mean the immaterial sauna heritage that Finland has had for hundreds or thousands of years, which we have lost. And we want to revitalize that. But then there's the catch. This sauna type, which is underground smoke sauna, is the oldest type of sauna. So they used to do it with peat, especially in the northern parts of Finland where you don't actually have wood. You don't have big logs because above the polar circle you just use basically what you get in this twigs and peat and all of that. So we actually also emulate the old type of having a sauna, because when we think about the elements, how to heat up a smoke sauna, then if it's made out of logs, there is some trouble, because logs always air flows through the logs in and out. And if you have too much air, it means it's very difficult to heat. It might heat up, it might take 12 hours. With us, it's 4 hours. So in order to make this possible, we use this technology, but we lend from the ancient practices, which have to do with, I would say, very precise knowledge of how to produce the best löyly.
Right. And for those listening, smoke sauna, you want to take a quick stab at it, or do you want me to try to summarize?
You try to summarize. I think
All right.
you'll do
Okay, give me a grade and give me the humble grade of A through F. That's how we
Yes.
do our grading system. But for those listening that may not be familiar, smoke sauna is an old way, the original way, and it's really quite simple. You're basically heating rocks, and this was before the Iron Age. So what you have is a fire going in the hot room, and the fire goes up in through the rocks, and it heats for several hours, and then the fire is extinguished, and you open the doors and vacate the smoke, and you have this latent heat from literally glowing red rocks that can provide heat for several hours.
Yeah.
How'd I do?
That's perfect. Exactly. And the most important thing is that there's no chimney.
Yeah.
And actually and one more point about the technology is that when you go to the sauna room, we don't even have electric lights. There's candles, there's rock, and there's wood.
Yeah.
And there's, the metal, the sort of, what is it called? Latch, or what is it? When you open and close.
For what, the door?
The lid of the stove,
yes,
yeah.
lid.
Oh,
That's
the
the
lid.
only metallic thing in the sauna.
Yeah, great.
So, it's also about this idea that you have this space which is devoid of technology. That
Right.
it's the technology could be 100,000 years old because it's so simple. Just rocks inside, they're hot, pour some water, that's it.
Right. And so over to you, Laura. But before I do, I want to kind of paint a picture of where we're sitting. I mean, I was I was a little unique in that I hopped on a train. Otto was going to come get me at Central Station in Helsinki, which is how long a drive from where we're
40
sitting?
minutes.
40 minutes. So we're really close to town. I took a train, which I would recommend to anybody. It's
Get up.
just hop on a train and get to the close station, and you get picked up by Otto. And Laura's here waiting for you, and you get to experience this really special way of sweat bathing, authentic, old school, real sauna, smoke sauna. Laura, taking it a little bit deeper, tell us about like bringing back the essence and the ancient practices as it relates to the process of smoke sauna and some of the things you bring in to the hot room.
Yeah, well, Otto described very well the setup, but what the heritage in our sauna name refers to is also the culture of bathing, the life culture that it brings to you. Because in the sauna, especially smoke sauna, sort of invites you to engage into the ritual of the sauna bathing. You know, every time when you're pouring the water on the rocks, you are there as the creator of the breath of life, the spirit of the sauna, the löyly, which is of so much of the essence. And the smoke sauna löyly is such a unique thing because it's so alive. You know, it's every time you're pouring the same löyly, but you can never pour the same löyly. It's always changing. And in the smoke sauna, you can really, you know, get to feel it. And that's what we want to provide the people chance to, you know, engage into the living löyly.
Yeah.
And into the process of this, offering the water on the hot rocks and having the löyly come out. And I cannot use the word steam. I'm sorry. I have to say löyly.
I appreciate that you are, right.
Yes.
Yeah. It doesn't deserve, it gives it much more credit when you use the real word to it, because it is, löyly is, it is such an integral part to sauna, but it's even deeper. It's a spirit, right?
Yeah, breath.
What is the breath
of life of sauna? You know, it is because Finnish language is very unique. It is quite ancient, quite old, quite raw language. So the words carry so much meaning. So to translate löyly to steam is okay. We are describing how löyly looks like.
Yes.
But it is same thing like when steam comes out of your mouth. That's not your spirit and breath. It's just what it looks like, you know, for external appearance. So that's why I'm a little hesitant to use this translation, because in the Finnish language, when you say löyly, you're pronouncing the soul of sauna, the breath of life of there. And that's what we really want to give people a chance to experience when you come to heritage sauna. Not going back in time or having like an outdoor museum, but it's actually engaging into these eternal practices.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
And of course my own passion. I'm not a sauna person. Definitely, I'm not into sauna.
Originally, maybe now.
Even now, I'm not really a sauna person as it is understood in the modern world.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm in that way very bad, because I don't have that, you know, interest in just going and staring at the minutes and checking the how many temperatures or checking the moisture levels or this. It just doesn't interest me.
Yeah.
So for me, it's all about, you know, engaging into this. These really core essential practices that have existed time immemorial, and sort of generation after generation has performed, and that feeling when you get to engage into something like that, really practically, physically, you know, it you can really feel it in your bones, and you can see it on the faces of the people who you know exit the smoke sauna or exit the sauna treatment or the ritual that the ceremony we've been hosting. You can just see that there is something that is beyond this time and space.
Yeah.
Okay, so beautiful. Real quickly about the plants.
Yeah.
Tell us about the top 2 or 3 herbs or plants that are part of the ritual for you.
Okay, now I would have to say that who is coming and when.
Oh, see, it's deep and wide.
Yes, because if you're coming in the summer, I would tell you different things than if you're coming in the winter, or if you're a 20-year-old woman, or if you're, you know.
Wow.
So I would tell you different things, and of course my personal opinions also are very changing according to so. But now, if we are pronouncing that we are in an early summer, and it's the nature is full of this lush green, and soon when we go to the sauna, we are inviting rowan and a little bit of birch there, so you will sense how, you know, this moment now that the nature is waking up from the winter, and sort of the air is full of pollen.
Yep.
Pollen, and you know, everything is getting so ready for the summer bloom, and the sort of the passion of life is all in the air. So of course the plants you bring to the sauna, you want to that they help you to harmonize with this season. But then if it's a cold winter and everything is dead around you, you know, maybe you want to just dive to that mood and just relax and let go for a little bit of everything, and maybe let the spruce come and protect you in that
Fabulous.
silence and
I
peace
love
and
that.
all that. So
right,
yeah.
right. So the moral of the story here is you're bringing plants in, inviting. I love that word you use. You're inviting plants from the area, from around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Very important, and it's a really important principle that we have. That's why I was just showing you how we're building like small gardens here. We would want to have it really locally, that it's really from this earth, just round here. And actually that comes to the other symbol, like there's of course the heritage or tradition, but there's also the Sipoonjoki, so the river that is flowing there. And that's another place where people get a misconception, because for example, Finnish state sees that if you have a swimming place which has a sauna, then you can get certain benefits, tax benefits and so on. But if you have a sauna which has a swimming place, it doesn't go like that. It has to be first a swimming place and then a sauna.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And since we don't have all this infrastructure to take advantage of the river, we don't get these benefits.
Okay.
So we're just a sauna.
Yeah.
So, but because of this culture, many people come here and say, you do have a possibility to swim in the river, no? And I say, yes, there is. And then they usually complete the sentence with, oh, but it's so dirty because it's brown because of the, the earth, the clay that you have in the bottom. But it's actually one of the cleanest rivers in South Finland. So the thing is, people have like very strange idea of what is natural water. Like what is the function of a lake or a river? It is for me to go in and dip.
Yeah.
And go out and then go to sauna and dip again.
Yes.
That's the only and sole reason.
Yeah.
But I would think this river as, the muse of the sauna. Because this is actually an ancient river. There's even a story that the Vikings used to, like 1,000 years ago, they came here from the ocean with the ships to inland. And there's many mythological stories about this village and how there was a big fire and, this was called the Fire River and all of that. So it is the muse of the sauna in the sense that it's sort of a symbol of a living thing. Mm-hmm. And sauna for us is a living thing, and we celebrate life here. So it's only apt that we have a river going next to it. Mm-hmm. And when I'm thinking about building the next place, I would love to have it next to a river, just because of this reason, that I would have, Sipoonjoen Heritage Sauna or Oulujoen Heritage Sauna, or, to contact it to this idea of living body of water. Which also has a story, So this is also another layer of this sort of mythological starting point that we have. And the funny part is, of course, that people may have this prejudice to the river, saying, oh, it doesn't look too inviting and so on. But after 2 hours of here, they might just find themselves sitting there and looking, and it's beautiful.
Well, that'll bring me there. And there's a practical side to this as well as a sauna business.
Yeah.
And we need, there could be a better word for this, but I'll stick with business for a moment, is that it's very practical for cool, I say, for saunapreneurs, we have the saunapreneur lingo, people opening businesses to share sauna. We can solve for heat, but ironically, solving for the cold is an expensive challenge.
Right.
We have a whole booming industry of cold plunges and all that. And man, when I go to sauna, I only need to see one person leaving the hot room with sweat all over them and jumping into a small cold plunge tank. How do you filter sweat? I mean,
right.
It's just not natural to me.
That's why we have a washing place. We always say to people, please wash yourself.
Oh man, it's just like I'll tell you a quick funny story on that one. So I was down, I purposely took a morning flight from Minneapolis to Chicago. I was going for a conference in Chicago, and I wanted to allow myself a few hours to go to a Russian banya in Chicago, which I did. And I was the second person through the doors. I think they open at 9 a.m. or whatever. So there I was at 9:05, and I, get my slippers on, and I open the door to the hot room, and there's this big Russian dude sitting there on the bench. He was, he beat me to it. So I'm sitting there and I'm like getting sweaty and hot. And then he gets up and leaves, and I hear him open the door, and I hear whoosh, He goes right out into
Jump.
fresh water in the cold plunge, and I go, well, that wrecks it for me.
Yeah. But that's actually this is and then to come to a really practical side. You know, running it is a sauna business. You know, it is a limited corporation that we're having here. You know, it's also a living and all of that. And then we have all these kinds of like very practical things to solve. Like, for example, how to keep the cold pool not freezing in the winter when it's minus 30 degrees Celsius. Or in the summertime, how to keep it cool, because when you fill it with 8 degree well water, and after 4 hours, it's 12 degrees and all of that. So we try to make it so that it's still an organic process. That, for example, we don't use chemicals. My problem with banyas and the cold plunges is that you can smell. It's full of like chlorine, and I don't like that idea. I would want to have it so that all of the stuff that we have dissolves to the nature, and so that we actually don't cause any more damage to the surrounding. Something is necessary, of course. If you want to build an establishment and you want to make it work, something is necessary to happen to the surrounding nature. But I think the results talk for themselves. Every year I hear more birds. And there's some birds that don't, like satakieli, for example, mockingbird, I guess, which can do 100 voices. That's the Finnish word.
Okay.
For it. So it's quite rare to see that. So then we'd have deer running around here, and foxes, even a lynx, like the footprints of a lynx. And every year there's more like biodiversity coming around, or just expanding here. So I would take this as a testament that we would do something at least, right? And we would want to do more. But there's always this. We try to sort of make it that, okay, we want to tune into this natural surroundings, but we're not dogmatic. It's not like, we want our pools to smell because we don't want to clean them up or something like that.
Yep. Perfect.
But one thing for me in this, looking at the global phenomena of sauna, and you're mentioning that sauna business means that you have to have the cold plunge or this. And also from the Finnish point of view, okay, not maybe the most modern, because we now have this cold plunge thing coming up also. But if you have sort of like your sauna is by the lake or by a natural body of water, of course you don't have cold plunge year around. It's ever changing as life is, and so maybe also this is that you can adapt more to where you are and what's the local season. And okay, maybe in the summer you don't need as such a thing. Maybe there are different things that we need at different seasons, and so standardizing too much.
That's so great, Lloyd. Thank you. That's think about it like this: the time spent cooling down,
exactly.
Summer versus winter, right?
Yeah.
Like nature invites us for longer cool downs in summer.
Yeah, it does. You know that you are air bathing. You're doing this thing more during that time, and winter is more you dip and you're back in the heat.
Yeah, and then we celebrate hard nature.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
There's nothing better than a snow angel. So for me in my backyard, one of my more pleasurable times for sauna in winter is the idea. I look on the modern app on my phone to check the weather. 3 to 5 inches of snow expected starting around 11 a.m. And I'm like a kid. I'm like, bring it on. Right. And I see the first amounts of the first snowflakes falling on the deck, and I know it's going to be a great sauna day. And I trudge out in my boots and light the sauna, and then in the fresh snow. It's this thing about diversity, like you're saying.
But it's like but I think in the best way it can be such that the technology and the natural sort of world are going hand in hand. Like my favorite example is our warm pool. It's a really important component, and we've painstakingly tried to find the technology that works. Electric heater, wood heater, diesel heater, whatever, to get it pretty much on a solid temperature, no matter what whether it's cold or hot or whatever. Not easy. But since we managed to do it, it's exactly this feeling. I sit there in some October night and I see these really big snowflakes starting to come. And I'm sitting there in silence, nothing. I hear no sounds anywhere. And it's just, I just came from the Löyly, I just go to the warm pool and I'm just sitting there and just taking in the natural surroundings. So this is all possible because of the technology that we have. But on the other hand, even in Finland, you've had some kind of like warm water bodies, even in the ancient times. Mm-hmm. You could find like a hot spring, and the feeling is exactly the same. I've been to Iceland in hot springs, you know, and just sitting there and taking, you know, immersing yourself. So, you know, we have this possibility to combine technology with really like this sort of roots-filled experience of life. And this is exactly the reason why we never scoff at technology. We like technology. It's not like we're Luddites and want to go back to the 19th century. Some people would think that this is exactly what we want to do, but there's no reason for this.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Laura, you off microphone, you mentioned something about how meaning comes from struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heating a smoke sauna and doing sauna treatments and ceremonies, you come to realize that.
Right.
Because so many times in my life, I think that I could really live an easier life.
Yeah.
I could really, you know, let myself have an easier day.
Yeah.
But then you find yourself again carrying the logs and again working in the extreme heat and you know, facilitating people's you know, deep relaxation and you realize that that's what you're supposed to do and really because when your life is too easy, like that's the problem we have, that we don't really have to struggle for many things. So then, you know, when you get something, you know, free, it doesn't have value to you. It doesn't. So you really, when you work for something, then you have that reward. You know, it's actually a really hormonal response that you have in you, the reward of getting something, and that's fulfillment. And many times in our case it means very practical business, doing podcasts and doing marketing campaigns or then getting the woods or harvesting the herbs for the sauna healing session, you know, really hands-on practical and on so many layers, and it's not always easy in Finland because Finns don't pay for sauna. Because everybody can do sauna and everybody can do it for themselves. So there is a lot of work and struggle and like really just to get to do then what we love and to provide this healing space.
And actually we have to thank you Americans, I guess, because you brought in the culture that, yes, I can pay. I can pay for sauna. It's all right. It's better like this.
Yeah. We could transition into that and talk about your commerce, your, you know, the economics of running what you run. Prior to that, a cousin to what you're speaking about is this pride. You know, I wrote a book on how to build a sauna, and I've helped many, many people. And it's just, you know, we're not building a garage. We're not redoing our bathroom. I mean, we're doing something. We're giving birth to something. Yeah. And I love this line of every sauna has its own soul. Yeah. And when you build your own, and you don't have to build everything from scratch, but when you put your own sweat equity, so to speak, into creating, it sure has a lot more meaning. Yeah. Like, you know, a sauna bench feels that much better when you are the one to make it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But definitely.
Yeah, not to say if people don't have the time or they just want to write a check that they're not in their get a sauna, they're not. There's not a loss to that in a way. I mean, you can build in other ways. You can build a lifestyle around the sauna you bought too. Yeah. So there's many ways to have this equity and people work hard in their lives, right? Yeah. And so, you know, there's struggle comes from many areas, right? There's mental health struggles, and so anyway, we can bring meaning, you know, with that into the bench.
But also, it's a very small things can be what gives you that a sense of meaning. Like, okay, maybe you have your whatever ready sauna that comes to you, but okay, maybe you take a time and you really like prepare a good vihta or herbal water, or you know, take a moment maybe to sort of if you have a wood-fired sauna, you take a moment with the woods and you really, you know, put it doesn't always have to be that then you have to really like, okay, for my sauna to be meaningful, now I have to go into the woods and cut the trees and you know, but it can be really that you know, give value to the small things that you do and take a moment with them, very hands-on, practical things.
Right.
Yeah.
And Otto, you were drawing the analogy to yoga, and a lot of yoga practice is about setting intentions. Like go within yourself and reach for an intention for this practice today. You could also be thinking about, those listening, when you go to sauna, what is your intention? Do you want to give some thought to your spousal relationship? Do you want to give some thought to a challenge in your work? Or, it doesn't have to always be something so woo-woo and spiritual.
Yeah, right.
These are practical approaches we can take to the sauna bench.
Yeah, and we even talked in this podcast a couple of times, I guess, about how in philosophy of mind, there's this concept of metacognition, which is that we're aware of our situation. We can plan the future, we can be analytical, we can make logical statements and so on. And for example, in the dream state, the metacognition is dropped out, so you're just phenomenally conscious. So there's something that is like to be you in your dream state. And for me, being in sauna reminds me of this. I don't need that metacognition. The metacognition is every day, all day in use, like making calculations. Even now, making logical arguments and being coherent and so on. Especially if I'm alone in the sauna, there's no need for this.
Yeah.
So I can just safely shut down my metacognition and just fall down. And even in Finnish mythology, there's even a sort of a concept of this, that you go into the underworld in a sense.
Beautiful.
And it's not like you go in. It is actually funnily enough, going towards death even. And the idea of bringing just a tiny sliver of death every day to your life might be the best inspiration for your best business deal. How to deal with your argument with your spouse. Who to call first next morning. All of that. But it just requires that I sort of lose myself for a while.
Love it.
And especially for the night practice, in a sense, this is the way. And actually, it's interesting because sometimes I go for the morning sauna because if the rocks are really hot in the nighttime, you still can go for the morning sauna. And the feeling is uplifting. You feel like, oh, wow, easy to breathe. Nice. What a way to start the day. It's beautiful. And in the nighttime, it's just the opposite. It's like, going down and almost like not falling asleep, but like feeling like drowsy and all that. And both of these can be a source of wisdom.
Lovely.
And for very practical things, not just like that you would realize God or something.
True that. Yeah, you can go deep or you can go wide, and I love that. The metaphor I'll often use is, sauna is a great place to untangle wires in your head.
Yeah.
And you can just spend that peace time.
Yeah, right.
Thinking things through.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's beautiful that millions of people have now figured this out around the world. Also, it doesn't feel like as a Finn that we're so alone. Other people also notice now. That
you want to talk about this idea of righteous sauna and this term?
Yeah, sure.
You want to lay it on me or vice versa?
Yeah, maybe just tell what you mean.
Yeah, and for me, I have to say now, because you guys were talking about this before we started, about this how the sauna culture is in the States, for example, and there were interesting terms used in your conversation which I haven't heard before.
I'll lay claim to the term fin washing, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm unabashed about this. So look, if there's anybody on this planet that loves the deep traditional sauna, what we're going to be doing in an hour, it's me. I mean, I absolutely love it. What comes with that, though, is a danger of being a preacher, a righteousness, what is right, what is wrong, browbeating people for building something wrong or incorrect. So it's a tightrope that we walk here, and I really believe that Otto, I'd love for you to riff on this, but when you try to quantify, objectify, put science in front of spirit with this, you lose the soul of it. And I don't think that we can quantify the simplest things like ventilation. I think ventilation is about the breathing of your own sauna, and there's no right or wrong. And the more you research it and try to preach what is right and what is wrong, the less fun you're going to have sitting on the bench.
Yeah, right.
You know?
Yeah.
And funny is that the ventilation has to do with your own breath. Like, I've been to a saunas 10 years ago, and I thought, wow, such a poor ventilation. 10 years now later, after a lot of breath exercise, it's like, really? I thought this is a bad ventilation. It was actually me.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love
so,
that.
you know.
Yeah, it's not it, it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know there's good intention with this. Oh,
Yeah.
the Finns do this, the Finns are that.
Yeah.
But I think that comes with some danger as well.
Yes, and also this is just in so many levels interesting because, you know, Finnish people, we're just such a small country. Like this 5.5 million people here, it's a suburb in New York, and we have a country the size of Germany. So we're pretty much alone in an island somewhere here next to the Polar Circle. Like, I don't even know if there's like taking not into account Siberia. I think there's no other place where so many people live in such a northern place. So, and also because of our history. Now lately, I've been now reading like Finnish literary classics for this reason, you know, just to understand the mentality. Where did we actually come from? Like, how was the everyday life of a peasant 150 years ago, something like that. And the whole history up to this point has been very low self-esteem history. You know, Finnish people, maybe we had the Nokia for 5 years or something, and they were like, yeah, top of the world, you know, we have the biggest cell phone company or something like that. But it's actually been this kind of engineer things mostly, which makes Finnish people proud. And now, since people are using this word sauna, which is the only Finnish word that is, you know, went far and wide, this idea, for example, for fin washing, like Finns would never do that. It's like for a Finnish person, it's almost like wondrous. Like somebody really cares. Like somebody cares how we do sauna. Like that's crazy. How can anybody care about us or our little saunas? So it has come to us as a surprise, and Finnish people still don't know anything about that. You know, that Finnish people know that there's a sauna boom here and there, but they don't know that people are really would maybe even looking up to Finnish people. Like how could we do it better? And this really crystallized when I was talking with a friend of mine, and he was asking first, like, am I able, like, should I use the word sauna, because he was starting a sauna company, because isn't it a Finnish sort of term? Should I use some other word? And of course, my point of view is that it's universal knowledge, so don't worry about that. And also, what would Finn do? That's like saying, like, what would Jesus do? Like, it's a stupid question because there's different kinds of Finnish people. So, engineer in Espoo will do sauna very differently than, you know, sauna healer in, you know, Lapland. You know, so you cannot standardize that kind of stuff. And also, of course, as Finns, unfortunately, it kind of makes me sad. But sometimes when I talk to international contacts, they say that Finnish people have been, you know, very strict, unpleasant people, unkind, alcoholic, all of that, and it makes me kind of like, well, it's such a sad state of affairs that, you know, it has to be this kind of dynamic. I would want to Finnish people to see, you know, the richness of all of these sweat bathing cultures and what we could actually learn from each other. And also to be proud of the roots of sauna. Not just saying, you know, maybe in the 16th century you did something with the whisks, but nowadays nobody does anything like that. And that the crown jewel is this very technological sauna that has everything, you know, like it should be. But just to celebrate this, you know, living culture.
Yeah,
that it's not clean.
You guys are leading by example, and I think that's how we win. The people that find you and come here or listen to this podcast and understand a little bit about your motivation toward bringing back the ancient practice, the best art divides the audience, and you guys, for everyone that wants a prescriptive sauna and a certain way, you know, there are others that are finding the deep roots sauna, and those are our people.
Yeah, right.
I learned a long time ago, man. You can't please everybody, right?
Yeah.
And as this thing grows bigger and bigger, more and more of the right kind of people are going to seek you out. Like you said so wonderfully, Laura, you know, like meaning comes from struggle. And the work that you're doing is considered a struggle. You could probably both make a lot more money doing a corporate thing or
being an Uber driver.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. But you have great meaning, and I cherish it. Being here is a great joy, and I want to thank you both for your commitment to this slice of Finnish sauna.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear that. You know, it's always good to get recognition. Although, if everybody would hate us, we will still do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And everybody seems to like us when
Cool.
they come to the sauna.
Yeah,
You know,
man.
if they don't come to the sauna, that's a different story.
But for so many years, I have been doing my rituals for one person coming and not many coming, and people, what are you doing? So, but
Laura, careful of the busy highway.
no worries.
Yeah, this
I'll
is good.
stay out of
Life is more fun on the edges.
Yes, yeah. And I have come to realize that is, you know, usually like if you're in a forest, I don't usually take the
I'm with you.
pedaled
That's it.
pathway, but I am in the stones and rocks and climbing the tree, and
Lovely.
that's how it is in my life. I realized, and
we found each other because we have this in
Yeah.
common. You know, one quick thing: the banya culture, the ancient banya style with the Slavic tradition is parallel to our tradition here, your tradition. And I have Slavic friends that are bringing the Venic treatments and the steam bathing and they're struggling too, because there's a big thirst for this practice in public sauna in North America and also in Britain I've seen and stuff. And so it's becoming dry. It's becoming like McDonald's because they want the quick and easy, and they want to bring Venics into the hot room and swing them around and say, hey, we do Venic treatments and it's an extra $38. Sign up here. So you're not alone. I mean, how we balance the authenticity with the productizing is always a challenge. So,
but I think
just an
that's where you
observation.
dive into the essence. You know, you
Yeah.
have to know what is the essential elements
Yeah.
of your practice. And those don't lose their value even if you do give samples of them, because even a small drop of the you know diamond is a diamond. So in that
that's
way you just
great.
have to really stick to the essence.
Yeah.
Right, and this is what we want. We want to share something that is so
Exactly.
meaningful. So
Yeah. I want many people to have that, you know, dip of or a drop, because we are in a desert. So as many people as possible should have the healing drop, but so we have to facilitate that, and that's why we do different types of rituals and trainings that are very, you know, not to the deepest end, but still we want to really stick to the essence, that we don't, you know, commercialize ourselves out of our own core.
love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, and what we have what is the essence really is health, and the word health, you know, terve in Finnish as well as health in English means whole. So it refers to something whole, and you know, we see people as holistic beings, not just machines accomplishing things and so on. Not at all. That's just a very stupid illusion that we've somehow bought. I don't know why, really. It's kind of still makes me wonder.
Well, we look for simple answers to very complex
mechanisms. Yeah, right. And the thing is, you know, now when everybody's talking about AI, bring an AI to a sauna. Then we see if it's conscious or not. You know, can an AI sit on the sauna bench after a really nice löyly session and say, that was wonderful?
Yeah.
No, the AI can never do that. So we as humans, although we're living in this very challenging and very you know, upheaval here and there, you know, time, then now more than ever it is important. I think now going to sauna for Finns is as important as in the Second World War. I think sauna will be the one that carries us through this crisis time, and then we will probably be stronger for it.
Yeah. So two things on that. In this travel, sauna travel for me, like good heat knows no borders, and that's a very important thing for me. It doesn't matter where I am. When I step into the hot room, there is a familiarity and a comfort with that, and so I just want to acknowledge that. And then the second one is this precious word that comes from your country, and your analogy toward your comparison, Otto, to yoga. It's an inevitability. It's the cat's out of the bag. We're seeing sauna in many fabrications and exploitations. So I just want to acknowledge that, and also I think of this image of a triangle, and as we climb this ladder to higher place with sauna, you'll come here.
Yeah, and yeah, it's even though I'm gonna take the risk because this is there's probably people who may be more atheistic listening, but the ladder, it's going towards God. And the word of God in Finnish, I don't mean the Christian God, and that's although it's one of the wisdom traditions that is trying to call it, but it's sort of the mind behind everything, the fire of which we are sparks, and this is a leading theme. And for me, it is mostly as a philosopher, as a practitioner of sauna, not as a religious person or scholar or whatever. And that sort of brings the meaning. Without struggle, you cannot sense the meaning, but the meaning is always there. We're here for a purpose. And, sauna is, my opinion, the best way to really live that purpose, not just theorize about it and so on, but to actually build a practice.
Yeah, right on. And staying on the religious metaphor, I mean, your doors are open, right? But you're not out there with Bibles on bicycles knocking on doors, collecting money and saying, come, yeah.
You have to come, you're a sinful person, and if you don't come,
you're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
Sauna hell if you don't show up here. Yeah. So that's the deal. It's like we walk a tightrope in a way, right? Like we want to offer this and we love it and we want to preach it, I guess is the right word, to those that want to experience it. But this is it's done with good intention and not exploitation. So I applaud you for that.
Yeah. And likewise, I've been listening to your podcast, and I really love the idea that there's a voice that collects different stories around sauna. Yeah. Because if there, now there's millions of people doing this, there's millions of different kinds of rituals. And for example, I'm really open to the idea, although I'm almost losing hope, that somebody would, in Finland would be this very traditional sauna practitioner or something like that, and somehow we haven't been able to reach that person. And maybe now more and more people are interested in sauna, we could find a person like that, and we could learn from that kind of person. Or that could be an Estonian person, or Latvian, or Lithuanian, or who knows, German, who knows the German Middle Ages sauna culture that is lost since hundreds of years. So I'm still searching for, all kinds of influences and voices around.
Well, that's good, because I've been taking careful notes, and I brought my tape measure, and I'm going to replicate everything you guys do in America. And I'm starting smoke sauna drive-through.
Right.
Every town in America.
Careful, don't drive the car when it's heating up. You get a smoke treatment.
Yeah. And I'm going to sell franchises and earn a shit ton of money.
Of course.
And I'm going to retire, and I'm going to want to replicate your life.
Of course.
You would do that, and I would just travel to your smoke sauna. It's just like, hey, Glenn, you have it so nicely here.
Yeah, right on, brother.
Right through.
Cool. Yeah. What else you want to ask me, or what else you guys thinking? It's so fun to do this.
Yeah. Yes.
I hope listeners are hanging on.
I hope so. We are too much involved in our own conversation, but
right on. Right. I just think sometimes from the perspective of listeners, like a lot of of folks are from North America that listen to Sauna Talk.
Yeah.
Not exclusively. It's kind of
Yeah.
everywhere and available everywhere. But
Yeah.
I think we framed up what a smoke sauna is. We're here. We're feeling it. This is going to be the real deal. I'm going to be on the bench very soon. As soon as
Yes.
we sign off, and then you have a group coming after our
Yes,
time.
Yes.
And tell us about that next group, and maybe give listeners a flavor of who comes here to Heritage Sauna, north of Helsinki.
Yeah.
Today is the Women's Sauna Day. So that's why we are a little bit with the timing, as we are here saying we don't want to have sauna with time, but we do have time
Yeah.
today, because today is dedicated to women. So we have a group of women, they come, and we have the women's bathing session in the smoke sauna, and at the same time we have our treatment sauna where I'll be doing the sauna treatments and the saunotus sessions with
One-on-one?
one-on-one or two at a time.
5 hours
One
today, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow. So, Laura, if I could, that's a lot of work for you. Like your
Definitely.
sweating is much, if not more, than the patient or
True.
the participant. Yeah. So you're cooling down. You need to cool down as much as those that you're giving the treatment to.
Yeah, and very well look after, be very well prepared and look after it. And of course, it's also about, creating a practice, of it, so that you know what you need and sort of you know the warning signs before you overheat yourself, and you know what actions to take before that. But of course, it's also, you have to have your sauna hat and these things well intact, so that you can be in the heat and operate in the heat. And we do a lot of singing and voice work also in the sauna healing. So it is demanding, to do everything, physically be active and have the plants, have the vitas, and then singing and looking after the people there. So yes, no doubt. Like I said, I could be doing a lot of things that would be easier in my life. But then again, when you are doing the sauna healing, you are also there to receive. You are sort of just facilitating the forest and the löyly. So as much as you're there struggling, at the end of it, you always feel more whole and more yourself.
Meaning from struggle.
Definitely.
It's coming back. It's a theme.
I think so. It's theme now.
Today, women. Who else will be coming later in the week or other days?
Well, yesterday we had a men's session. It's been our sort of, what is it called? Like in Finnish we say jumbo, which is like the last. It's the quietest session for some reason. Men, I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe don't
More
see
stoic.
the value. Yeah. They maybe don't see the value.
Now,
to be
with these men, do they know each other or
No,
okay?
it's a public. We have the public shifts, but then we have also, of course, like in the end of the evening is always a private session. The after steam is always the private session.
Yeah.
And then in the weekend we had our sauna healer training graduation. A new group just graduated, so these things happen.
Are they all
here.
Finnish or were they from?
They were Finnish, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the international groups also, but this is and then of course we have the group ceremonies and sessions. Like I think, is it next or following weekend we have the bridal sauna party coming and sort of this sort of ceremonies for private groups also.
Yeah.
So
and
both.
also, all of that, and also like I use the opportunity to invite my business partners and my mentor and so on. So we use sauna also like make deals. Finnish people do it since forever. They say, all right, let's take our clothes off and then talk. Then you're not more valuable than I am, and we can talk from an equal setting. So there's also this kind of aspect. And of course, the family sauna, we go, with all of us, we have family. And
And you have 3 children?
Yeah. Actually, us both.
I have 3 children. He has 3. Yes.
Yeah.
So this is a real school here.
Yeah. 6 or
Yeah. It's funny, actually. Sometimes also Jonas, our other partner, he has also 2 kids. And sometimes there might be 6, 7 kids, hanging out. they think it's a quite scary place, the dark sauna. So they don't, but they want to go to the warm pool and just run around between these two and go to the cold pool and so on. So
fantastic, cool. Yeah. Well, this is great. Thanks for sharing a little bit about that. Now I want to put you guys on the spot because we want to bring some listeners to Sauna Talk to the Heritage Sauna, and we're going to do a deal. We're going to, if you mention sauna, if you want to come here, sauna tourism is going to be a thing. And I've been at, Otto and I were talking about this. I get asked weekly, probably every other day, something like that, about sauna tourism. Hey, I'm going to Helsinki. Where should I go? Da, da, da. So I don't have a formal plan yet, but we're going to have a Sauna Times sauna tour. We're going to bring some people to Finland, and we're going to bring some people here at a Heritage Sauna. And if you mention Sauna Times, you're going to get something. And I want to, do you have a suggestion of what they'll get?
Well, I was thinking about maybe, you can just mention it so that we can come and pour the first löyly and maybe sing a little Finnish sauna song or a rune for you. And I say conditions apply. So if none of us is here, we have to ask our heater if they can do it. But other than that, I'm happy always to do it when I'm here.
And if you don't reply by midnight tonight, this offer will expire. So get on. Yeah. What do you want to ask me before sauna?
Well, first of all, you said that you have smoke sauna experience. So we've been evangelizing about smoke sauna since this episode and all of the episodes. So how would you define the difference between a smoke sauna and a...
Well, the löyly, it starts, that's a starting place. Is the löyly is very defined. Like it's soft but intense, and that's the kind of löyly that really speaks to me. It's pure. The oxygen is special as well because you're not having a continuous burn, certainly not electric or gas or any of that other heat source, but because it's single burn, the intermixing of oxygen that happens as you throw water is very special. Without a heat source, it is a little bit like. It's a scary analogy, but Russian banya is like this also, where traditionally they'll heat the kiwas at night, and so you have this latent heat, much like smoke sauna, and then when you throw water in a banya, it's comparable in the sense of how the oxygen mixes with the löyly.
Yeah, right.
So I love that. And I also love the simplicity of smoke sauna. You mentioned about only candles, very soft light. That creates an aura to the space that is special. And I replicate this in my cabin. We have a cabin on an island in northern Minnesota, and the power goes out. I wouldn't say a lot, but frequently enough. And those are great saunas for me.
Right.
And I'll even shut the power off to our sauna cabin. And I like the analog nature of smoke sauna, and I replicate it with my own sauna. So anyway, those are just a couple of initial points. And lampomassa. I think this could be the second Finnish word to be adopted into the English language. The thermal mass of the room is when you feel good heat, it's all over. Meaning it's like it's all over. Meaning you search for it because once you feel that, it's all over. You will always move to that style of heat. And it's also all over your body. And then also. The stress of the day, whatever's on your mind, is over.
And I have to just to wrap up. I really want you to get into the löyly now. So we need to end close our mouths and go into the real stuff.
We'll live it. We are like children hearing other children on the playground.
Exactly. Let's just quickly eat up so we can go.
And you folks listening can as well. I mean, this is available to all of us, and this is one of the lovely things about sauna.
But I have to just small question in the end, because for me, one big thing that has shocked me to my core has been that in the world out there are people who talk about Finnish sauna being hot and dry with no löyly. And have you come across this concept?
I will make a comment to that, and this is logical as we think about it, because this comes from the maintenance department at health clubs and hotels that get very intimidated and pissed off about changing elements on electric sauna heaters. So they come up with this whole concept that saunas should be dry and that the rocks are not meant to take water because they don't want to do more work and have to change elements. So this is the origin, and
insurance companies also probably don't give insurance that easily if there's water involved.
Yeah, well, the irony is they say you can't throw water on the rocks because you'll start a fire. Yeah. So hot and dry becomes unfortunately the thing. I've sat in health club saunas for 15 minutes and barely break a sweat because no lolu, you know. And but you know, the smart people, and this is what happens. Then you have rebels that come in and they'll spit water on the rocks and they'll use their water bottle to throw water on the rocks. You know, it's just begging to take water, these kiwas, you know. So this is the origin of the Finnish sauna being dry. But we're changing this. This is beautiful. This is gonna be a yesterday thing. I'm committed to it.
In one generation they will think, really, you didn't throw water to the rocks?
What madness is that?
I'm putting a plug in for protected elements. The technology is with us today. I love what's called clean steam. Clean steam is a very simple thing. It's just water on rocks, not water on electric coils.
Definitely, as it should be.
Cool.
But sauna, it is ready, and you know, there's gonna be a very nice session. And this was a very nice session. Thanks to our dear listeners, and also thanks to your podcast listeners. And of course, we mention all the time, like, if you're really interested in exploring this part of the sauna culture, then saunahealer.com. It's our retreat, also our study program.
And if you're really interested in smoke sauna, and come and be our apprentice, come and heat the smoke sauna with us. So please contact us, because really to know löyly, you have to be the heater of the sauna. That's where you get the relationship with the kiwas and really the löyly. So we welcome all of you also if you're interested in that side.
And for our listeners, where can people find you, Glenn?
Saunatimes.com.
That's it.
That's it. Great. Well, you go to Sauna Times and a lot will happen. I wrote a book on how to build a sauna. I have Sauna Talk, the podcast, available through there, and over 900, probably 1,000 articles that I've written, along with a lot of guest contributors. There's a sauna map, and if you guys aren't on the map, we'll get you guys on the map.
Let's do it.
Nice.
Okay, and let's do now smoke sauna.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Kiitos to you. Cheers.